Okay, there we are. So we are going to get going. Welcome back, everyone. I think tonight my plan is going to be to work back through some of the material design and XAML stuff. The 3.0 release is getting very close to being done, and I would very much like to get it out and working. Sorry, one second. I'm testing some stuff and trying to figure out this will work. So that's going to be my plan to try to get that done. I'm trying to resist the urge to add more and more stuff into the 3.0 release and just work on getting the thing pushed out. So yeah, I think that's where we're going to go. I had a new computer that I was really hoping to use tonight for streaming, and then it had hardware problems, and so that it got sent back. But I got a text earlier saying that it was done and ready, so the next stream should hopefully be on a new, more powerful, faster machine. So hopefully now I have something that can keep up with ReSharper while streaming, which will be a little bit nice to go back to. So yeah, the last thing I want to announce is next week there is probably not going to be a stream done. I've got a conflict with some volunteering that we're doing that night, and I don't know if I'm actually going to be home in time for the stream. The event's expected to run later into the evening, so there's a very real chance that I will not be streaming. So if I do end up going live, follow me on Twitter. I will be posting there if anything changes. Let's see. But my current thought now is that I will not be around or online. Oh, I guess the Twitter link's already at the bottom of the video. I should pay attention to my own overlays. Okay, so tonight though I wanted to start with something a little bit more fun. I saw something very, very cool earlier today that came across on Twitter. So I did not just magically divine this. Somebody else showed something similar, and I thought, okay, let's see how we can push this and have some fun with this. So let me get this back into an initial state, right? Okay, so let's just bounce over here. So for anybody who's interested in this, is going to be a little bit of a brain teaser problem. So I'm going to pause at one point, and if you don't want a spoiler alert, tune out for a few minutes and then come back. But let's switch over here to my other screen. Okay, so we've got a simple unit test project. We've got some async unit test method. It doesn't matter what. We're just doing an async method. And I've got this integer foo, right? And in C#, there's kind of all of these weird kind of esoteric features that don't always have good practical applications, but are really fun to do brain teasers on. So ultimately what I would like to do is I would like this unit test to pass. So assert r equal hello world await foo, right? I want this unit test to pass. Now you should notice something right away. I've sort of already cheated the system. This is compiling, right? Normally you can't just await on an int, and this is the keyword, so there's no fancy class name trickery going on here. So this is the keyword, not necessarily the class name, like for example versus int32, which in general you should use the keyword over the class name, because this one can be overridden if somebody decides to declare their own int32 class, whereas the keyword is always going to resolve down to an int. Now again, should somebody be declaring their own int32 class in a project? Probably not. That's a recipe for disaster. But I would like this to work, right? And this is compiling. So for anybody who is interested in going through and solving it, tune out and come back in about, I'm going to set a clock for 3 minutes. So, and actually, I guess I don't have a thing queued up for that. But come back in 3 minutes. I will flash my be right back screen as an indicator, so if you want to tune me out. So here's the solution to the problem. So the way the async and await keywords work is they use what's called duck typing. So the big idea behind duck typing is if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Okay? in this case, how that translates into C# is it says that this await keyword isn't looking for some like special interface or some special class name, because even within C#, you'll notice there's a bunch of different sort of default objects that people know that they can await. Task being the obvious one, this guy here. Value task being one of the more recent ones that's added that's available. Async result for the ASP.NET core guys that are out there. So all these sort of asynchronous things can be awaited, and they all work with the same keyword. And so the way this guy ends up working is he's just looking for well-named members, right? So he's looking for a matching signature, but all that matters is that the thing quacks, right? If it quacks, it's a duck, or in this case, if it has an IAwaitable, it can be awaited. So in this case, what it's looking for is a getAwaiter method. So you'll note the cheater thing here is it also accepts extension methods. This was the bit that like I had known before that async and await just relied on the getAwaiter method, but I didn't realize that it allowed for extension methods to implement this, which was the new bit that that was my realization today. So in this case, let's make it so my unit test passes. Hello world, right? And so the key part with this getAwaiter method is you have to return an object that has several other members. There's a isCompleted Boolean, an onCompleted void method that takes in an action, and there was one more. getResult is the key one here. So this task awaiter has all of those members, and so because it implements, and all of these things come from this, or I should say some of these things come from iNotifyCompletion, and then iCritically notify completion, etc., etc. You have to have one of these two things because it needs to have one of these members to work with the await keyword. But once you have this, you can now make it awaitable, which is really, really cool. This is one thing that I did not realize, is that extension methods were allowed. So for those people who are interested, there's the solution. You create an extension method. The return type from the extension method needs to conform to the, or it needs to have all three of those magical members: the isCompleted, a getResult, and an onCompleted. And optionally this guy. The easiest thing to do is just implement these interfaces here. And then, poof, it works. And so, proof is in the pudding. Let's run the unit test. And hopefully this just works. Poof, green unit test pass. We can now await on any int and get hello world. Now, should you do this in your project? Probably not. In fact, almost certainly not. But there are use cases where it is kind of nice to know that this is how the underlying behavior works, and how that comes back. So there. So for anybody who was wanting to know when I was done with spoiler alerts, there we go. So fun little brain teaser. I may post something on GitHub later and share it out because I think it's kind of cool. And again, fun new ways of playing with C# and doing very, very abusive things. So let's jump over to material design in XAML, where we were looking to start in the first place. So GitHub, bring this guy back over here. And we are going to go start diving into that 3.0 release and see if we can get some of this stuff resolved. Also, the GitHub Universe stuff came out today. There's a long list. I'll just jump back here real quick. For anybody who's interested, there's a long list of cool things. The unfortunate part is the vast majority of these announcements are all things that are like preview or coming soon. But there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. So I'm guessing by the fact that you're watching this that you use GitHub. So if you haven't taken a look at all of the cool new stuff that they announced and you want to know what's coming, here it is. So packages is out of beta, actions is out of beta. They've got a new mobile app and this, that, and the other. So okay. So pull requests, milestones, and let's go back here to the 3.0 stuff. Okay, now again, just because I put something into a milestone, I'm not committing to actually fixing it in that milestone. I'm just committing to look at it. So there's a very real chance that some of this stuff gets punted and pushed out. And I believe, let's see, this guy's a bug and this guy's a bug. Last time we were doing MAAP stuff, so let's go ahead and continue down that path. Has the MAAP's validation template and not the material design one. Let's see here. So this is this may not actually matter. So I believe let's just get this guy going real quick. I think all I'm going to do on this one is validate it. It looks like this bug was logged prior to all of the MAAP's stuff that was done previously. So we're just going to validate that this thing works and then move on. It may be worth just running the demo app and making sure we have an example of it in the demo app, because I'm not entirely sure that we have validation. The MAAP's demo app is definitely a lot more sparse than the other one, which is a bit unfortunate, but I've been trying to make sure that as MAAP's issues come up that get resolved, that things get added into the demo. Okay, so let's come over here. Close all documents. Also, something else worth noting, my YouTube video for this one may end up getting delayed. There was a new announcement that came out around child content and monetization of YouTube videos. I don't know if I care that much, because this content really doesn't target children, and I think I just hit no, but I wanted to read through and actually make sure I understood the implications of it before I just made a decision. So before the next video goes up, I need to spend a little time doing this. So this one may end up just sitting on Twitch for a little bit until I get around to it. But rest assured, once it goes there, all of my little Azure functions go crazy and do all the things. So I may end up doing some streams on building out some of those Azure functions as well, because there's updates to them that I'd like to do. Specifically having them update like the YouTube descriptions and tags for consistency on all of them, just to make sure that if I make a mistake, it goes through and corrects it for me. I don't think that should be too terribly difficult to do. Okay, so let's see here. Because again, this 3.0, it's so close. The bar is almost all the way across. Almost all the way there. Let's see here. So we are looking for numeric up, down. It's that guy here, numeric up, down. Let's see. I don't know how do I think I have to do a binding validation rule. Let's go and look. Let's go and look. Because I don't think this guy has anything. Ooh, MAAP's view model. So this guy has stuff, but nothing. Just grid data, grid row, enum values. Okay. Well, that's wonderful. Where is the? I need to do some renaming and cleanup in here. So numeric up, down. Let's go. Is it value? I think. Oh, come on. Help me out. Yeah, value. Binding. Up, down, value. Okay. So we'll come over here. Let's kill execution because it's not going to be able to keep up with me on this. Let's see. Public int up, down, value. Let's see. Get set and then auto code button and convert to full property. So cheater mode on that. And then I think there is a... Do I not have another command implementation, dialogues view model? One of these I thought had a I notify property change implementation. Doesn't look like there's one in here. That's disappointing. Okay. I notify property changed. We'll just do this the long way then. So let's see. If up down value not equal to value, do the set, and then raise the event, which needs to be added. Implement interface, please. So then you go property changed, invoke, pass the view model, and then a new property changed event args with the name of the property. Okay. So for those people who haven't seen it before, this is the, if you're going to create your own view model class, this is the basic pattern that all of your properties need to follow. Because this boilerplate gets very repetitive and boring, pretty much all MVVM frameworks come with some sort of view model base class that simplifies this logic so you write as little as possible. They all basically have something similar under the hood. Some things add a few extra features, but it's all basically make sure the incoming value is different, because this event can be expensive to raise because it causes all your bindings to evaluate, or can cause bindings to reevaluate. Update the value, and then raise the event, which triggers all of the bindings to go in, or all of the relevant bindings to go and do stuff. So, and then obviously you want to tell it which property updated, so that only the appropriate bindings have to update. Okay, so this guy here, and then what is it? Was it notify error info? Is this the right? I can never remember. Let's see. Has errors. Errors changed. Great. This will work. So for anybody who's interested in implementing validation inside of WPF, this is going to be the absolute longhand way of doing it. So just be aware. Let's see. After property changed, we'll just come over here and go errors changed. We should probably be more intelligent about when we invoke this. But for now, we're just going to make it work. Because normally you only want to change this if there is actually a change in the number, or if there is actually a change in whether there are errors or not. So has errors. Let's see here. Let's just do private list string errors get. All right. That'll work. So this guy here should return if there are, or I should say, should return true if there are any items in the list. Okay, so if, let's do this. There's clear. If value less than 0, there's add. Value must be positive. All right. Okay, so points for spelling. We need to actually initialize our list. Okay. Something akin to that. Go. So just walking back through what this is going to do. This property is bound to the numeric up-down control. It's going to do the property change stuff, and then it's going to clear the errors, and then if the value is less than 0, it'll put a new error in, and then invoke the errors changed event. So what this will end up doing is this guy will call the has errors to figure out if there are if there are errors that need to be displayed, and then if so, what go and get the errors. So numeric up down. See backwards. This guy doesn't appear to show any. Hold on, I'm noticing a problem here. Data errors changed, but why? Something's not right. You have to actually give it the error info. I've missed something in my implementation here. So property changed. You know what? Let's do this. Throw new exception. Value must be positive. We're just going to cheat because there's a whole bunch of ways to do validation, and this is probably the most brute forcey way of doing it. Boom. Something like that, something like that. Take this guy off. Take this guy off because I don't want to go look up the appropriate signature for all of this. And then we'll just change the binding on this guy to say that it handles exception validation. So, let's see. Validate on exceptions. True. So that'll just tell it that when exceptions are thrown, use that for validation. Because if my property throws an exception, that's some sort of validation has occurred. You do have to turn it on to make it work, but it's a simple and easy way to do it. Because in general, you don't want your bindable properties throwing exceptions. It's usually a bad idea because exceptions are inherently somewhat expensive. Every time you new one up, it has to go through and value must be positive. Yeah, you can kind of see the hang there on each of those because the exceptions being built up and thrown, it is a little laggy. I believe that's the appropriate. Now I can't remember. Where do we have validation in our demo app? Where do we have validation? Probably in the fields. Let's see. Buttons view model. Don't know if you actually do anything. Valid helper. Let's see. Domain. Text fields view model. I thought if string is, well, here, let's just go and look at our validation template and verify, because I honestly don't recall exactly what the default validation template looks like. So themes in here, and I believe it's under validation. Okay, so adorned element placeholder. This is where the control that's being validated would end up as part of the template. So in this case, the numeric up down. Let's see here. Validation hint. Font size. So we should be able to just force the validation off with this. So to verify that this is working, come on, you can figure it out. Come on. Material design in XAML, don't make me go and get it. There you go. There you go. We'll just validate, because as long as this turns off, I'll be fairly confident that it's using our template, because that's our attached property, and my apps isn't using our attached property. And then we'll have another issue closed out and done. Okay, so my app's there, numeric up, down. Ooh. That is making me question a few things now. See, so what is the... Suppress would have to be false. Suppress is true. This guy's being shown. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Let's try pop-up placement. Maybe I'm just getting this wrong. So let's see here. Let's see, MDIX, pop-up placement, bottom. Interesting, it doesn't look like it is using our validation template. So let's take a look, because this might legitimately be a bug then. So let's see, my apps integration, themes, something about the numeric up down. It is appropriately setting it. Though it's doing it with validation error template and a dynamic resource. Is that correct? So let's go back to ours, themes. Do I have it here still? That's probably the problem right there. So it's worth noting, both my apps and material design in XAML, there was a lot of sharing of code back and forth, and so there's a lot of overlap between them. So you'll see a lot of similar styles, similar templates, similar code, just back and forth between the libraries, because yay open source collaboration. Okay, oh no, give me back, come here. Okay, so now if I come over here, down, so suppress appears to now be working. Ha 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 ha. So let's come back over here. Let's turn suppress off. If we trigger another binding error, did not resolve to the appropriate template, which is making me wonder if it found the right template. So numeric up down. So let's start and get a couple of these tabs out of my way. Don't need all of this. So numeric up down. Let's do this. Rather than falling back with a dynamic template, let's be explicit about what we want, and then, because I don't think that it, I don't believe that it's actually pulling in the validation template by default. I think you have to be explicit for it. Yeah. Basically this. Except for this isn't, the merge dictionary isn't going to work here because this is project reference and yada yada yada. So I actually need to grab the reference across, but this isn't quite right either. And this is what I want. This reference. Let's see, material design theme, validation, error template. Something more like this. And we'll do a static resource because if this isn't found, I kind of want it to blow up. Because in general, in most situations, you want to use a static resource for your styles and templates because you usually aren't swapping those out at runtime. Dynamic resources for things that may change at runtime. So for example, all of the brushes would be dynamic resources because you're very likely to change your color theme or similar at runtime, and you want all of those things to update. Whereas your styles and templates, usually those are fixed. Again, it's situational. You got to figure out what's right for you. But in general, dynamic resources for brushes and colors and changing values, and there it goes. Value must be positive. Boom. So it is interesting that that disappears. There's nothing in here about the... Is there anything special that it does on... Nope, that's it. Okay, so that'll at least fix that. So, let's go back here. Okay, everybody's favorite Get Kraken. We'll grab that here real quick in just a second. As soon as I find it. Close, 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 close. And there's this. Okay, so I apparently didn't pull after I merged the icons library, but that shouldn't be a problem. So we'll pull down latest, and then I think just new branch and fix this issue. Okay, so let's just take a look here. So we brought this in. I'm not sure. Somewhat tempted to remove this. Edit. Let me edit, please. Let me edit. Thank you, Get Kraken, for being awesome. I think we just want that. And then get me out of edit mode. Yeah, so we'll add the binding. We'll add the notify property changed, and then the actual fix for the bug. So stage all changes, and we need a branch. We need a branch. Let's come over here, create branch, fix, and then I like to use the issue number, 1473. And then back up here, setting, nope, not what I told you to do. Let's see, validation, template for numeric, up, down, fixes, 1473, commit, and push. Yeah, that sounds great. Come over here and then jump back to the root of the repo, and because GitHub is awesome, it should go through and give us an update. Hey look, new pull request, great. And that goes there, that goes there. Ooh, get errors. This is what I forgot to implement on the other one. Dang it. And also what I forgot to strip out of our changes here. View model. I apparently did not scroll all the way down. This guy. So edit the file, scroll all the way down, take that out of the mix, save the file. Let's see. Great. And here we're going to have fun. So amend previous commit. Oh, you have to stage the change if you actually want that to work. And then rather than creating a new commit, we'll just change our previous one. And so when you do the amend previous commit, you'll notice now we've effectively split timelines. So for people who like time travel movies, this should make a lot of sense. This is where we were. We went back in time and said, no, we want to effectively split the timeline, and we want a new version of it going up here. Well, the server still has the old timeline, so we want to make sure that our timeline is the real one, so we just force push right over the top of it. And because it's not one of the protected branches, we can get away with this. Why is... pull? I'm a little curious why this is in... There we go. I was curious why my master was showing down here when it should have been up here. Anyway, okay, so that's fixed. We come back over here. We hit refresh on our pull request. Boom, boom, boom. Scroll back down. That looks correct. Okay, so this goes in the milestone. Create pull request, and then I'm just going to let this guy sit off to the side. Well, I can leave him here. We'll just come back to him. While he's chugging, because I'm going to let the CI system do its thing before I merge it, let's come back here and see what else is on the lineup. Okay. Icon pack, resize, and button. This is probably worth fixing because this is probably the next one to work on. I know this font one I'm sort of hesitant to jump back to. But this is not quite a regression. This one is. So I'm going to prioritize the regression first. So let's see here. Let's see. Outside the button. So the issue here is the clip that got added. So the buttons themselves, well, I should say, material design in XAML material design doesn't do anything with like mouse hover effects. There's technically like some fancy color changes and whatnot that are in there, but that's not meant to be core to the design principle because it's supposed to be very touch friendly, and hover type effects don't really translate into a touch style environment. So instead what happens is for material design, there's an expectation that when you tap, you get that ripple effect to give instant UI feedback that something has actually occurred, that yes, this tap event has done something, something has happened, rather than, you know, color changing and that kind of thing. So that's the general principle. So we have rounded buttons. And inside of our rounded buttons, there is a clip that we put in to effectively clip off that ripple effect so that it doesn't, you know, go out to the full square. The problem is it appears that that ripple effect goes through and is not quite sufficient. So step one, so this was the bug here, and you can see in the nice slow motion for our buttons that have custom radii on different corners. The ripple was going out over the top because the ripple itself basically has to sit on top of the content to be able to show it. So we put in the clip property to appropriately clip the ripple at the corners, but apparently it's clipping the content too, which no bueno. Let's see here, and I kind of want to look at the pull request that went in for this, because unfortunately I was the guy who did it. No, I wasn't. And So this guy comes in here, blah, blah, blah. Border clip converter comes up with this. Okay, so this is probably where the problem comes. Corner radius, corner thickness, border clip converter. So okay, so step one, let's get us back in a reproduction state. So come over here, we're going to go back to master and work from there. Okay, so back on master. Let's close all these down. Let's get us back into a state where this works. So on the demo app, we'll go and pick on one of the buttons, and we'll just get it into a broken state. So was I smart enough to leave here? So so this does technically have the code, but it is unfortunately in an image, which is mildly obnoxious but usable. So let's go through and take a look. Let's see if we can pull this in. I want to get us into a reproducing state. I'm fairly confident that the issue is that most of these things aren't actually needed. So I'm going to just bring this guy off to the side here, where I can keep looking. For anybody following along, this is issue 1326. So let's go through and get ourselves into that situation. So button with pack icon. And this one was specifically the floating action button. So let's do floating action button. Okay. And then what were the properties? So on this guy here, height and width was explicitly being set to auto. Great. Height was being bound to the same as width, basically making the thing be square. So a relative source binding to the width property, relative source self. So this will ensure that the width and the height get the same value. And then let's see, on the button itself, this style was going through and setting, let's see what all is here. We've got because sizing matters here, width of auto, margin of 10 and 5. The height is the exact same doohickey. So for the button, it is matching it. There's some background brushes, some border brushes, and then, let's see, vertical content alignment is being set to center, and then horizontal content alignment is also being set to center. Okay, I think that covers it. Let's just make sure we're back into the broken state. And don't need you open. First Mountain Dew is empty. I guess this means I'm going to be going. I have unfortunately, for better or worse, not been getting as much sleep as I should be getting, which means I'm getting more coding done for what that's worth, but I don't know if it's actually more efficient. I would tend to think probably not, because I seem to make a lot more mistakes while tired. Hence what the Mountain Dew is used for. Come on, little buddy. This is what the new computer is supposed to fix. It's actually a fairly nice little guy. So it's 32 gigs of RAM. It's got a Ryzen 5 6-core processor, I believe 3.2 gigahertz clock speed, hyper-threaded, and then SSDs all the way around. And then it's got a really nice NVIDIA graphics card, and I'm trying to remember what it is. It's an 8 gigabyte something or another, GTX. I'd have to go look up the model. But before I had to take the thing back, it ran really, really nice, and I was very excited about it. Okay, so that unfortunately did not repo my problem. Okay, so let's go back and see what are we missing. It is interesting. It's interesting to me that this thing did not go square. Trying to see if there's anything that I missed. Border brush, content alignment, height, width. See, on the pack icon, only the width and height are being set. You know, the other thing though that's happening is these are being set. That shouldn't matter. I was going to say these are being done as part of a style, which there could be some inheritance, but I've explicitly set those things directly on the element, which that gets to win out. So width of auto, height of auto, or I should say width of auto, height of bound to width. Okay. And then on the button, so material design, floating action button, 10 and 5 on the margin, width of auto, height is relative binding to width. Okay. There's technically a background being set and a border brush being set. Neither of those should play into sizing calculations. And then vertical content alignment and horizontal content alignment are both set to center. Did we do anything about that? Okay, so this is now bothering me. So now I want to go and look at this theme and see, have there been changes in here since the initial work? Let's see here. So these are basically the same aside from some sizing. Oh, interesting. So wait, what? So this may be a non-issue. So let's go back here, because this was done 28. Raised accent button. Okay, so let's look here. I wonder if this accidentally got fixed by moving stuff around. So there's the... Okay, so we're not going to fall into this with this button type. Got it. So there must have been some code sharing between these that has since been changed. Okay, or my initial assessment of the problem is wrong. Let's go back to this issue. Icon will not resize when I maximize window. So let's try this on a different button style. So my initial Something seems off. And I think the issue is this button is not in a state where it can be forced to scale. And I think I need to have it, I think I need to trigger these bindings. I think that's the fundamental problem here. So I need something that's going to grow and shrink. Something that is going to grow and shrink. And I do not have Focus Assist turned on. Okay, so what grows and shrinks in here? Let's see, grid, lots of grid stuff. Stack panels aren't going to grow and shrink. Stack panel, stack panel, stack panel, yuck. Let's see here. So, how big is this? If I just do a, this is way too big of a, let's just do it on a different page, maybe home page. Yes, let's do the home page. So, grab me my button. Come here, button. Let's go over to the home page. Let's go powwow over there so we can actually test this. So let's see here. Home page down. Row definition auto. That's more like what we're talking about. Vertical alignment top. Let's see, collapse, collapse, collapse. Button. And just for fun, grid row 1. Should allow it to grow and shrink. This might get resolved as already fixed. Though for the life of me, I do not recall merging in anything that would address this. But we'll just double check. And CI system finished, so squash, merge, and it should close this with it. That's in and done. Okay, and real quick we'll just validate bugs closed. Great, a little bit closer. Boy, this certainly looks fixed to me. Okay, so I'm gonna punt this and claim that it's fixed, and if it's not, somebody I am very confident will correct me. So let's make sure we have a comment from, because this was technically the commit we were testing on, so we'll grab this. Let's see. This appears fixed on the latest 3.0 code. Commit, boom. Close and comment. Okay. More stuff down. That's what we like to see. Close that, close that, close that. Refresh. Dialog does not size to content. Oh, right. This is another one. Let's see here. So this one here, there was one comment I wanted to make because I was thinking about this the other day, and there is inside of the dialog host. So when a dialog is shown, it does all of this stuff. But there's a couple of callbacks in here. And I'm wondering if this is causing any problems. So this, task.delay continue with, and then kicking it basically to make it run. Not a big fan of that. Not a big fan of it. So, and then this one here, what is the case where we fall into this? Dialog not opened. So we fall into the else case. It goes through, cleans up. Okay. Okay, so did I already leave my comments? So a couple thoughts here. One, the dialog host has some weird timing callbacks to work around other issues. We'll go get the link for that. Perhaps this is the timing issue. I think that might be it. I think for now, going to move this out of the 3.0 milestone. Okay, so let's go and get that link for Magnus real quick, because I do wonder if that's the kicker. Every time you see the things with like task delay with like constant timing things that are designed to work around problems, they usually end up causing problems somewhere along the line. There's almost always something that goes wrong. Let's see, 295. Boom. Let's see, copy. Boom, boom, boom. Comment, and then let's see. I'm pretty sure, as far as we're aware, this is a bug. There's nothing indicating otherwise, but we'll clear the milestone on it. Okay. That gets us beyond that. Wait a minute, didn't I just clear the milestone? There we go. Datagrid Problems with Keyboard. Let's take a look. Just kind of just shooting from the top now. So let's see here, because this was partially fixed. So let's see. Datagrid Combobox column can't be used with keyboard. When I get to the column with the keyboard, pressing tab. So I think let's fire this up, because this is in our demo app. So we should be able to test this. So effectively tabbing into the cell from that column and then trying to use the keyboard to open the combo box. Okay. Oh, let's whack that guy, because I don't think there's anything valuable there. Get rid of it. And let's jump back. Come on. And we'll pull up on the latest. I believe, now that our branch is merged, I should have just clicked the button on GitHub to do it, but we will delete and delete the local copy. Great. Yep. I'm confident. It's already been merged. Okay, close. And let Visual Studio catch up so that it can be happy. Because given the .NET Core 3.0 release, I know more and more people are wanting to use this. I would be curious where else people would want to use this. In the past, I've had requests for Avalon support. I've heard requests for Uno support. WinUI 3 is a tempting thought of where else to bring this material design stuff. In all of those cases, it's basically a rewrite of the existing stuff. They all use XAML, but it's all kind of their own flavors. And so you can copy over the XAML files, but then with all of them you have to walk through them and tweak. So if that's interesting to people, I would be curious if people would be wanting support for that. I had contemplated UWP support at one point. WinUI 3 seems like a better use of time, but that's also very much alpha preview. So I've already forgotten the Datagrid. That's what we were doing. Datagrid. Because we've got this guy here is a Combobox column, right? So Datagrid checkbox column, Datagrid text column, Combobox column. Okay, so let's come over here. So for example, spacebar on a text column, spacebar gets me into edit mode. Escape gets me back out. Over, spacebar. Okay. And nothing appears to get us in. So the initial problem of the keyboard is clearly still a problem. This is editable. Should be handled there. Text column pop-up editing style should pop up with min width as wide as the cell width. Okay. Well, we'll take a look at that. So let's take a crack at this one real quick. Okay, so I think this is probably going to be over in grids or Datagrid Combobox. So Combobox item style. So this is targeting Combobox. I'm looking for the actual toggle button, Combobox item template, yada yada. Text box, not what I'm looking for. This guy. Let's see. If is editable is true. So I think editable is true on this. Let's just double check. Is editable true? So for some reason that sets tab stop false. Why would that do it? And then it changes out the template. Combobox editable template. So let's come up here. Ooh, that was fun. Let's see. Material design grid Combobox. Material design grid Combobox editable template. So it comes in here. This is a pop-up control. Let's see. So it's got a pop-up. It's got a toggle button. It's got a border. Basically, the issue is when we're sitting here, I really want space to trigger. So I'm going to start with Snoop, I think. And this will be a good lesson in using Snoop to debug keyboard bindings. So usual process, fire up Snoop, go ahead and connect to your app by just dragging the crosshairs next to the binoculars over. And I'm going to move Snoop to the side for the moment so I can get this guy locked into where I want. And I'm going to move you over here, and we'll bring Snoop back. Okay, so in this case, we're going to look at events. So minimize, go away. Okay, so here I am really only interested in effectively key down stuff. So let's see, key up, key down. That's probably good enough. Let's get rid of the mouse stuff. I don't want to see all of that. Kind of wish there was a clear all. That would be nice. Like a little thing at the top where I can go click, click. Maybe I'll look at... That might be a fun pull request. Okay, so we're going to shift this to the side and then shrink my window down so that it fits. Okay, so we're going to tab over. And you'll notice it, as I tabbed over, it showed me who handled it. Then I'm going to hit spacebar. So key down on Datagrid cell. So Datagrid cell is where the event originated from. And then it walked all the way up the window and never got anywhere. Same with here. So the green ones are ones that actually get handled. And so... Never fired. Never fired. So we can go through and we can click here. Because I suspect what's happening is this means that focused isn't moving inside of the cell and is instead sitting outside of it. Because I'm guessing this is where the actual combo box is. So if we come over here, methods, sure. I really just want the focus method. Invoke. So if I come over here now and hit spacebar, interesting. So even though I invoke this, that moves back as soon as I switch. Okay. So basically, I think the problem is that we need to get keyboard focus to move inside. Okay. This is not exactly one of the easy areas. I'm curious about this tab stop and why that's set to false. My gut reaction says that's wrong. And we might just have to relaunch. The edit and continue for XAML doesn't always play nicely with your app when you've got Snoop connected, which is a tad problematic. Just a tad. Because I'm trying to remember, there's several attached properties that you can set around tab order and how it should cycle. So we might end up looking a little bit at how some of these other ones work. So specifically, and actually this is probably a worthwhile endeavor, is looking at how the other ones are set up. Because the text one clearly works, right? So we probably just need something similar to that. Let's see here. I'm just going to collapse all of you guys down. Grid row. Let's see, is there outlining? Oh, come on, stop helping me. Stop helping me. That is one of outlining. Yeah, that's not quite what we were going for, but that's what we were looking for. I wish in Windows there was a way to tell the window to not steal focus when it launched. That is probably one of the most annoying things. That and arrow shake. not like arrow shake. So still no dice. I am curious about, well, before I get too carried away, let's just find the text box one. Datagrid. I mean, this is the right style, so I guess the question is what triggers you to get used? Are you just set up as an editing style? Something's referencing you. So in the demo, element editing style. Item source is editable true. Okay. So that doesn't really help me, but it does make me want to look at this template a little bit closer. So that's fine. Pop-up control. Okay. So the key thing here, though, is this is effectively toggling between editable and non-editable. Which makes me want to look at the data grid. Combobox. This is a template for the Combobox, but what I'm still missing is what ultimately sets this in. Because something has to set the style on the column, and maybe that's the problem here. So let's take a look at that then. Let's see. Data grid Combobox column. And okay, so it's deriving from that one. Generate element. So I'm sort of curious here because I would expect that. So that triggers generate editing element. Let's check our call stack. Where did we come in from? Oh, big long line of stuff. But the key bit here, I think, is that it is being handled. Data grid cell on is editing changed. So is editing is being changed, which is what's triggering it. And then back to the regular cell style. So if we tab over, spacebar is not triggering the is editing. So that is the problem. So whatever triggered is editing, let's look at that a little closer then. So whatever triggers is editing is what's ultimately causing this to either work and or fail. So what is triggering this? So back to my call stack. Property changed on property changed. on is editing changed. Dependency property, begin edit, command binding. So these are command bindings, but I'm looking for Datagrid begin edit. So ultimately this is where will you let me into this if I load symbols? Didn't think so, but we can go and get it. So let's look at, let's see, reference source. Because I believe the WPF stuff is in here. There is the .NET Core stuff is also open source, but given that we're still on the old stuff, kind of prefer to check here. So Datagrid, and then specifically we came in from so we manually handled it. Datagrid Assist. So hold on. What got us into here? What do you get called in? Enable checkbox assist. So this guy. Okay, so that's ultimately what triggered the other one, is we were manually watching it. Interesting. Let's try that one more time. Tab, tab, space bar, click. So the click is actually being handled by us on preview left mouse button down. Okay. I'm a little hesitant to just register up on the spacebar command. A little hesitant to do that. But that is what is triggering this. Let's see here, because I do get access to the element. I'm wondering if the element should watch itself. I'm wondering if it should. Let's just hack something together real quick. Boom. Sure, great. That sounds wonderful. Let's see. So kill execution. This is going to be a horrible way of doing this, but we're going to do it anyway. Let's see here. So if this occurs, let's actually do this. So we're going to throw away the sender, grab E, lambda it. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so switch on E.key, I believe. There we go. Case. Come on. What is your type? Q. So on the spacebar key, we're going to do cell dot let's see, cell is editing. I think that works. Let's see, what do you... Switch does not exist in the current context. What did I do wrong? So, plus equal lambda... Stupid somewhere. Oh. There we go. So, fix the switch. Okay. This is a very naive approach and not the way I would suspect that we should do this. Because hard coding specific key handlers is another area that's fraught with peril. I would much prefer to figure out what's triggering the change on the other columns and act on that. And more importantly, what this guy's supposedly listening for, because this guy doesn't look to be watching for anything fancy. Apply style, generate element. Ooh, this might be an interesting one to override. Prepare cell for edit. Cancel cell edit. And then on input we can't get at because it's internal. But that would be an interesting one if I knew what to look at. And then here's, yeah, see, here's their key handler. Here, move off. Is Combobox opening event args? And this is why I don't really want to handle key presses myself. Is this looks very, very complicated. So let's see, if alt is the flag, yeah. So lots of fancy key press handlers, and I don't want to be in charge of those. Really don't. Oh right, it's never getting to us because the event starts at the Datagrid cell. Do you watch for anything yourself? I don't think you do. Let's see. Editing is read-only. So you watch for left button down. But you don't, wait, what? So you handle selection. On preview key down. And then, so you override that, you send input to column, you do column on edit, which I believe is what we were just looking at. I believe that looks remarkably familiar. So that comes up in here, is Combobox opening input event. Key down, key states, key state is down, so it only wants down presses. So what is the combination to return true here? So key key is system, switches it out. If key is not equal to F4 and key is up or key is down and flag. So the interesting part is this should have been getting invoked, and I would have thought begin edit would have been called. Let's see here. Let's go back to here. Let's see, is this key down event even triggering for us? No, because this is ultimately down on the combo box, and it really needs to be up a level onto the cell. Now I bet you it triggers. But it is... Okay, so if this guy should return true if key is not F4 or flag. So if it's not F4 or flag, it falls into the if. And we'll hit the return true. Because it really does seem like on any key here, this thing calls begin edit. What does begin edit do? And cannot navigate. Okay, it's not quite what I expected. Okay, I get it. I get it. You're unhappy. You're unhappy. But why are you unhappy is the question. Why? There is... So tab over, spacebar. Now our event gets hit. Which I believe gets us into a working state, right? Generate editing style. And this is building it up. So, okay. The down arrow and nothing is still popping it. Okay. Let's come back here. So this is... So now we've got a little more information as far as what's going on. Let's move you to the side. Checkbox, checkbox, combo box. There's that. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. Focusable is false. I don't think that's right. Because this is how we're starting before we get into there. That is the one we care about. Datagrid. Let's relaunch and try this. Guys, I believe the problem is we aren't actually getting focus to land inside, even when we toggle it to editing. No, the other thing we could do real quick. I don't know how productive this is, but let's see. WPF default control templates. All right, because there are these are example templates. They tend to be very, very similar to what is actually out for the default WPF controls. It is worth noting that these are not exact, but they can give you a very good idea of if you want to go and create your own controller or control template. This is a great place to start. So let's see. Data grid cell. I think that's probably one of these guys in here. So data grid cell. Column header. Data grid control template sample. Which I'm guessing is going to be rather large, which is fine. I sort of expect it to be rather large. So back over here. Back over to the grids. That is not it. Sort of wondering if this is all the way down into the base Combobox template. And container padding. Let's go to 12. So the default Combobox template. Dense string, whole bunch of stuff. Let's take a quick peek at this guy over here because we're all the way down into Combobox. Let's see what a default template might look like. Border brush, border. Take space. What template is this? This is the actual Combobox. So toggle button, content presenter. Interesting. A little text box. Interesting. The other thing I'm sort of curious to try is back over here. Kind of want to dump in just a so in theory these are drop-in replacements, so I should be able to just omit this and have it work. So obviously is editable, doesn't get to work. And what is it? I think I can just dump this in straight. And I'm sort of curious how this guy ends up working. try this. Let's try it. Because our Combobox column does add in a bunch of nice features, but sorry, I'm getting some messages from coworkers. We should probably be sleeping. If you're watching, go to bed. You're fired till the morning. Okay, so back over here, if we look at our grids, so the binding fails, but let's see how this works. Interesting. Even that's not letting me in. So the default one isn't working. If the default one isn't working, I wonder if it's broken for, I wonder if this is broken if we don't have the material design data grid. So let's try it. Let's see. If I do style, turn that off. So there's still something being applied implicitly. Let's go and find it. Well, editing element style, these ones will still trigger because these ones are explicitly setting styles onto there. Datagrid text. Why are you indented funny? Okay, so this is trying to think. I'm wondering how critical this is. WPF Datagrid Combobox column edit with F2, that's the magical incantation. F2 does get us into it. So preview key down gets us into there. Okay, this makes sense. Okay, so I think I know how we're going to handle this. But let's go back here. Let's turn the styling back on and let's restart one more time. I think the solution is we punt this guy out of here because it's confusing, but I believe for now we're going to let the default behavior of F2 control it. But what we might do, we might try this guy. Cell got focus. I don't know. I don't think this implementation is quite what we want. That's very opinionated on what should happen. I don't think that's quite where we want to be helpful, but we don't want to get in the way. So F2, and now I'm editing. Got it. So F2 gets me in and switches edit mode. Great. It's lovely. Okay. So the Datagrid combo box behaves differently than the other combo boxes, and you have to press F2 to get into editing mode. Okay, so on ours, there is no reason this could not be changed. Cell is editing, well, let's just come in here real quick. Combo box, focus. Right, so we get the key down event handler. Oh, this isn't quite right, because this is triggering on this guy. Generate editing. Let's just do this. Combo box. Again, we're just hard coding stuff in to make sure it works. We'll deal with the generalized case in a minute. Because what did this guy do here? So he registered up for 2 events. Preview key down, got focus. I don't think it's necessary to have the preview event, because we were able to trigger without it. It's interesting that it's limiting the original source to the Datagrid cell. It's probably okay. And then when the cell gets focus, is editing comes over to true. That is interesting, because I would think that this would... I would think that focus would trigger just by moving the cursor around. Tab, space. So let's just make sure. Let's make sure that, yes, in fact, this is doing what we think it is. Spacebar. So let's see. We come in. We set is editing to true. That triggers this callback. It comes in here, grabs it, sets is editable. Great, 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 great. Combo box. Make a request for focus. Which it's worth noting, the focus method is very much a request. Let's see if it is focused. It is focused. Oh, and I suppose that doesn't do me look good. Let's see, what is it? Cell. Don't I have a reference back to my parent Datagrid? Begin edit. should get us closer, I think. Oh, excuse me. I am getting tired despite chugging Mountain Dew. It's probably telling that I can drink a Mountain Dew and then go lay down and sleep soundly. So we're going to run this. It will be nice to have the new machine. These compiles will not be slow. I haven't actually tested them yet, but a thing with 3 times as many threads and double the RAM, I have to believe will make this go a little bit faster. And then the graphics card for the streaming so that I don't have to do it all on my CPU. Okay, so let's come around over here. That does get me into there. So that does. So let's turn off that. Tab F5. So let's see. So we move around, right? Move around. Spacebar gets me in. Down arrow lets me start going. And then enter commits and gets me out. So something like that works. So the question is, should it? Should it? And then more importantly, we've got the issue of, I think there's a memory leak here with the event handler, because this delegate is going to implicitly capture a reference back to this column. Let's look. I feel like there has to be a better way. And actually, let's do this. Datagrid text column. So I'm kind of curious because something is watching for that space bar, and I want to know where in the hierarchy that's happening. So I don't see an event handler there. Prepare cell for edit. Has non-escape key characters. What do you do? So text. Okay. So is IME processed? Oh, that's literally just checking. Okay. Current cell is editing. This does not. It does not appear to do it. Just keep going down real quick. I'm curious where the line gets drawn for each of these. Element, big style, refresh cell content. That's not it. Data grid column. Don't see it in here. On with property changed. Cancel edit. Okay, so the question then is, I guess there's two questions. Should this handle this, and should our combo box column work differently? I think the answer is yes, I'm okay with that. The question really is just, how should it go about doing this? How should it go about doing this? Because if we just register up the key down handler on this cell like this, this is horrible for virtualization. It's going to memory leak like crazy. We need a better way of handling it. We do have the Datagrid Assist class that theoretically can do this for us. Enable Edit Box Assist, which I think this must be on by default in the style. Let's see here. Enable Edit Box Assist. Yeah, so this guy's on by default. Thinking maybe that's the better place to handle it, because then we can watch it at a much higher level. So how about let's explore that option real quick, because that seems like a better way to go about doing this. So come up here. Data grid, key down, data grid on, key down. So we basically want a lot of the same logic that's in here. Are these args used anywhere? It's used to hit test. Data. So rather than basing it here, we need to pull some of this out. So let's pull this out, private static. Void foo. Again, we're just prototyping this. Just prototyping this for a minute. So is direct hit on an edit component. I'm starting to wonder if I don't actually want all of these. Yeah, let's back this up. I don't think I don't think there's as much overlap here as what we thought. Is Datagrid cell, so how about pattern matching instead? Yeah, pattern matching for the win. So let's see. Just keep going. And cell is read-only. So we'll only do work if it's not a read-only cell. And then maybe, oh, we should probably validate on the key that was pressed. E dot key equals key dot space and E dot, what is it, event or routed event? Is down would work. Routed event. How about is down? Well, this is a key down event, so if we get into here and it's not a key down event, we got a different problem. Okay, so let's also, and sender is Datagrid. So Datagrid begin edit. I really would prefer to know, does the cell know anything about its column? It does. Well, let's just keep going then. And cell dot column is Datagrid Combobox column. So this is the material design one. Just be aware. And we'll put that in a variable. Let's see, and column is editable. What are you unhappy? Oh, is editable. That's not quite the same thing. Okay, because that's toggling the is editable state on the combo box, and that's not really relevant here. So we only, basically we're just going to check and verify that the cell that actually triggered this came from our Datagrid combo box column, and then we'll just trigger begin edit. That sounds simple enough. Sounds simple enough. Oh, we've got code in here that needs to go away. Turn you off because I don't want to deal with that. And I don't think the focus actually mattered. Question mark. Maybe it did. I think the begin edit is really what triggered everything. So we'll comment those out. And we'll just relaunch one more time just to make sure. I don't know if it picked up those changes as part of the build. It's the problem when you make changes while it's in the process of building, is you're never assured of exactly what went into the build. We're getting close to the end of the time, so I might get close to just wrapping this up. What was the last issue? So one of these was addressed. Oh, min width. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. feels like a reasonable default. This feels like something I would want to set in the pop-up style, and then that way other people can override it. Because the problem is the moment you hard code a value like this, somebody's going to want to change it. The question is how to get that value all the way in. How to get the value all the way in. Okay, so tab, spacebar, and I am in and editing. Escape gets me out, and away we go. That seems a lot better. Okay, so we're going to fix 1284. So we're going to clean this up, and then I think I'm okay with that. I think this is far superior to where it was. I mean, our combo box columns are only there to try and smooth over the rough edges in WPF. Not really trying to compete. Okay, so let's check our diff here real quick. 5 files, that's too many. So 1, the grids demo. So unindent, which is fine. This here we don't want. Let's see here. I believe if I select all, discard selection. So we do want this. This is just unindenting, and indenting there. That's fine. Let's see. Datagrid Combobox.xaml. So I don't believe this change mattered. Discard this line. And go ahead and discard that whole file, actually. Okay, so the datagrid.xaml. What do we change in here? What did we change in here? Oh, same type of thing. Don't believe that was necessary. Discard changes. Okay, combo box column, white space changes. Don't matter. Go ahead and throw those away. Datagrid Assist. This is where we actually should have the fix. So it's going to watch this. But we forgot to do the key down stuff. So let's deal with that real quick, and then we'll do one last test. So we register for the event. We need to make sure to properly unregister for the event. So we'll turn that guy off. And let get cracking catch up. So we added both of those lines. Added that. Great. Cleaned up some trailing white space. Even better. Let's just launch and make sure our demo app still works. We'll be good. We'll be good. And I think I'm going to resolve this last issue, and I think that last issue of the min width, I'm going to leave that up for grabs, and if anybody wants to take it, great. But I think I'm going to deprioritize that out of the 3.0 release. But we'll leave a comment on the issue saying that 2 out of 3 of those issues are now resolved. Come on. Go, Visual Studio. Go. I will say I do love all of this pattern matching. I guess we don't really need that. We don't need that variable declared. We're not using it. Let's see here. So grids. So put the focus into the middle there. Tab. Space gets me into edit. Enter commits. Space gets me into edit. Ding. Escape gets me out. Great. World's a happy place. Okay, so I think this is better. So adding spacebar handler to to make editing combo box column easier. Addresses part of, and then whatever this guy is, 1284. 1284. So we need a branch. So let's see. Create branch. 1284. Boom, boom, boom. View changes, commit. Push, push. And then let's come over here. I guess it doesn't really matter. We got to go back to the root anyway. Push successfully. Great. Which means I should have a nice yellow bar saying, hey, do you want to create a pull request? Why, yes, I do. Thank you for asking. We're going to throw this guy into the 3.0 milestone. White space, key handler. All that jazz. All that jazz. So create pull request. Let's see. The last issue that remains on this is the min width for the pop-up. Leaving that up for grabs. Anyone wants to try and tackle it. And for this library, if anybody's ever wanting to work on it and is struggling to do something or something doesn't have enough details, please ask. I am very happy to go through and put in as much detail as is necessary. I will also extend an invite too if anybody ever wants to do a pairing session. Preferably, it would be nice to do something like this on stream, even if it's working on an issue on this library or working on using this in one of your projects. Either of those would be great. So if that's something that's interesting to people, if they would like to do a pairing session or would like to do a code review, let me know. Shoot me a message. You can either leave me a message in the comments, you can hit me up on Twitter, or you can go through and shoot me a message on the Gitter chat room. There's my various places where you can find me. So let this guy go through and run for a second, and then I think I'm probably going to call it for tonight. Just as a reminder, likely won't have a stream next week just due to scheduling conflict. I might still get on. It might end up being later. Might only do an hour. We'll see how it goes. I don't really know how long my other engagement's going to take me. So that could end up just canceling it altogether. Like I said, I'll post on Twitter if a stream's going to happen. It might be a last minute, hey, I'm jumping on. So again, I do want to try and get this 3.0 release done and out the door. And so I think getting some of these items, I was going to deprioritize this guy out. I guess it's right here too. So I'm going to take this guy out of the milestone. But two out of 3 of the issues on here are addressed. And so I feel a little better about that. And that means 3.0 is getting down to just a few items left. Quote, just a few. And so this one's going to drop off here in a minute. This one is basically done. This is just an outstanding list of all of the breaking changes. So this isn't actually a needed issue. This expander performance one I might deprioritize because this isn't a regression. It's not great, but it's not regressing, and so I don't necessarily want to hold a release for it. In fact, I might do that now because it's not, again, it's not a regression, so I'm somewhat tempted to punt it in favor of getting the 3.0 release out the door. The other thing that's going to be a little weird is timing with the MA apps release. There was a Twitter post saying that the 2.0 release is coming very soon. So in an ideal world, I'd like to have this release ready to go. I'd like to somewhat release this in tandem, roughly at whatever time they release their 2.0. Otherwise, we have this weird middle state where our MA apps integration library, I either have to hold it back and not push it until things go and say, well, 3.0 is released, but 3.0 is only out there, but not with MA app support. Or you have to take previews on both sides. Like, it's doable. I can't decide really how I want it to go. So if people have feedback, let me know. Ultimately, I think what's probably going to happen is this is just going to ship at the same time MA apps does, and then I don't have to think too hard and just push everything out. So come on, pipeline, let's go. Let's go, DevOps. You can do it. You can do it. Yeah, more details, please. That's not enough detail. Just want to know how far along you are. Do I wait for you, or do I just click the button? So built, okay. Running all the unit tests, of which we're starting to get more unit tests. Though this doesn't touch anything. That is a fundamental problem with this library, is because so much of it is graphically driven, it's really hard to unit test graphics type stuff. So animations, UI controls, themes, which is a huge percentage of what this library is. So we do have tests. They tend to be around the behavior of controls, and it's just impossible to do it. So 188 of those tests. So huzzah! Test run successful. Come on, come on. There you go. The two runs there are one for .NET Framework and one for .NET Core. So, and then goes through and lots and lots of new spec copies. Oh, I suppose I can turn the links off. So they aren't breaking, and then upload, 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 upload. Build succeeded. Refresh my page, and I should get a nice big green button. Come on, post back. There we go. Squash and merge, and click that button, and then I believe the delete button shows up here. Yeah. Right about there to whack the remote branch, and that goes in and done. So that gets us a lot farther and a little bit closer to a 3.0 release. So 1, 2, 3-ish. Again, not a regression, so may punt it a little bit. I was looking at ways of trying to handle this because there are some API, or I should say potential breaking API changes. So this one probably stays in, and then this one I wanted to look at because there was a comment on here that indicated there was a regression. So what was this? Floating action pop-up multi-monitor systems. This one I think I'm going to clear the milestone on. Again, not a regression, but I have a sinking suspicion that this is going to be a little more involved than what's necessary. So again, don't panic if you see something your issue get dropped out of 3.0. It doesn't mean I've abandoned it. It just means it's not going to get fixed as part of this. So if somebody wants something in, let me know. But I think trying to get these warning with car with progress bar. So there is a really great new add-on that got released the last week or two for Visual Studio to show the XAML binding errors in their own dedicated window. So I think for this one what we're going to do is I'm just going to get the extension installed, and we're just going to walk through the library and the demo app and
find all these warnings and try to knock as many of these out as we can, because there's not a really a good reason to have these in. These usually indicate programmer error of some kind, whether it's a timing problem or what. They're not always trivial to fix, because sometimes you've got an event trigger or something that's causing it, and it takes a bit of a refactor, but I think going through and getting rid of these warnings is very worthwhile, and will probably cause a lot fewer bugs. So a few more of these things. Again, I'm going to keep pushing forward to try and get this stuff done. But with that, I'm going to sign off for tonight. Tell everybody happy coding, and we will see you in maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks.